Hey guys, we're back with another real estate video, and it's been a very long time since I made a real estate video, and I wanted to do this video because I'm getting really upset reading all the news talking about how the average price has increased, yada yada, in the real estate market and yada yada. You know, CBC News, a bunch of other news websites are pushing out these things right in the middle of this crisis when pretty much I guess everybody is cutting interest rate, trying to get everybody else to kind of go out there, not just to buy houses, but also borrow and kind of keep the market liquid. So anyways, I wanted to talk about the real estate market because I think we're pretty much at the, point where it's about to pop, right? If not already, or the air is going to come out. I don't know when. I mean, it could be a year from now. It could be 6 months from now. But it's pretty much, it's done. The damage is done. It's kind of like the coronavirus. As much as you think that, hey, we're pretty much fine. And, a bunch of these news, they tell you we have a very narrow, window to basically mitigate the problem at hand with the coronavirus. As I make this video, the U.S. is at 3,000 confirmed cases, about 72 deaths. I was just reading that moments ago. And let's be honest here. The only reason why the number is so low is because they're not testing everybody. And now they're starting to test people in the airports. So, now it's rising there. Imagine if you actually had real tests. I'm talking about real tests, man. I'm talking like about going out there, putting a test in the middle of, I don't know where, let's say a road or middle of a mall or something. Whoever walks into the mall, you test them, right? If you actually did that, I'm pretty sure the numbers would be well north of 50,000 or probably even over 100,000, right? But they don't do that. That's why the number is only at 3,000. And that's the same thing with the real estate market. The real estate market, the pin has popped, or popped the bubble. And, it's pretty much at the point of no return already. Because right now, when they start testing, what is going to happen is the real estate market, I believe anyways, in my opinion, as much as people have arguments about the Canadian dollar, becoming monopoly money, I agree. I completely agree that by the end of this, that not only maybe the Canadian dollar, but not only, like every currency is pretty much going to go down in value as they start to print to fight this coronavirus. And then they realize they cannot fight the coronavirus. What they're really fighting is the next recession. So anyways, the pin has already popped the bubble, the housing market. Why do you even think people are going to go out there to look for the houses during a pandemic? I mean, why you think that is beyond me. And I don't really want to talk about that because, that's just a small thing. The bigger thing is actually the foreign investment. It is those guys with millions of dollars buying multiple properties. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, people might think, the Canadian dollar is going to go down, the real estate price is going to go up. No, I mean, sure, it can, but in the end, right? But, people are going to start pulling out money from the real estate market. People in China, I mean, people in other countries, right? They're going to be like, well, actually, yeah, I mean, I think pretty much people in China. Because right now, China, they pretty much manage the virus. They actually are worried about the virus going back into China. So they're screening and quarantining. They're going to start quarantining people that are out, like coming from the outside, right? So, they are able to manage it because they took drastic measures, right? It's kind of like what Italy is doing. Italy has gone past the point of no return right now, and they are going to suffer a bunch of casualties, exactly like Canada. But Canada's kind of smaller, right? I mean, this small island mass of Italy is already 60 million. I mean, the entire Canada big land mass is about, I think, 30 million the last time I looked at it. I could be completely wrong. I didn't even look at the numbers. But anyways, let's go back to the real estate market. So what is going to happen is that, what I believe anyways, is that people in other countries are going to start selling their real estate, right? They're going to be like, Toronto's infected, Vancouver's infected. You have a bunch of infected things, and then let's just say that they buy it to rent. I mean, some people might think they just buy it, right? No, they buy it so they can rent it out so they can get money, right? So get income. Now, you know, let's say I do agree with the falling Canadian dollar. So why is anybody, investor, gonna, like, you know, keep their real estate in Canada with a falling Canadian dollar and, you know, pretty much an infected city, right, that cannot contain the virus because you're not allowed to pretty much, they're not doing anything to contain the virus right now. They're not even testing the thing. So why would anybody leave their real estate in there? So when they start selling, you're going to have a floodgate of sales, right? And it's not just that. I mean, when it starts falling, this thing goes very quickly. I mean, you know, once you have viruses, people start figuring out, oh, you know, this is actually bad time. I think the big thing is that we are not able to contain the virus. As much as we want to believe we can contain the virus and whatnot, we're not able to contain it because we're not able to take on the drastic measures that China has taken. So, you know, Italy pretty much is in like full-blown panic mode, and a lot of people are dying. Really unfortunate, really bad thing out there. We use Italy as a base of, you know, the Toronto or Canadian real estate market, especially in Toronto, where there are more rental properties, right? So even in smaller cities, I know people from Asia, I'm not even just saying China, I'm saying like, you know, anywhere that you can actually make money, right? Like Vietnam or like Malaysia, or, you know, anywhere where you actually can gain capital and you can invest. So they buy multiple properties. They don't buy one. You know, people think, oh, one is expensive. I don't know. They're like super rich like over there somehow, right? So anyways, not everybody, but you know, the people that are willing to make the money. Anyway, so they have multiple properties, and let's just use Italy as a base, in my opinion, right? So let's just say, you know, you're a rich investor in Canada, and you're not infected, okay? You're good, and your country handled the thing very well. So now the virus is gone, or not gone, it's contained, right? So the virus is contained, and there's people that are infected, and you know, pretty much you have confidence in what's happening. So you have real estate in Italy, and it is blowing up out in Italy. And at the same time, I don't even know the Italian dollar, but basically, you know, whatever they use there, the currency, I think it's a euro, I think. I could be completely wrong. But, you know, let's just say at the same time, right, they're inflating the currency like crazy to fight the virus. Why, you know, why would you keep the real estate in Italy that was once, like, you know, really high, right? But now you have a virus, and even if you rent it out, let's just say you rent it out, right? And, you know, you change renters. And sometimes the people don't pay rent because now the city's locked down. You can't even go get rent, right? So there's that. And on top of that, what if the person that used to rent there is infected? And then now you rent it out and the other person gets infected. Now you have a legal liability. So that's completely crazy. So, you know, why would anybody want to keep that real estate? If you were the investor in Italy, you would just be like, I'm going to sell this shit, right? Because now you have the dollar going down, whatever they're using, right? The euro, let's just say that. I don't even know what they use. And, you know, you have a legal liability. At the same time, you don't even know what's going to happen with the real estate market. I mean, once one person starts selling, everybody starts selling, right? So anyways, that's the same thing that's going to happen to the Toronto real estate market from what I think, right? Obviously, I do feel in the long term, if you have your house paid off, great. I mean, the price will go up in the long term, but I think the price will pretty much crash because we are not able to contain the virus. I do not believe that we will be able to do that because right now we're not even at the testing phase. And being a person that's grown up, like I've grown up in Toronto, I lived in Toronto, it is my, like, you know, home and everything. I understand Toronto very well. Obviously, other major cities as well. New York, those cities, you pretty much know they have very compact transportation, right? So this virus spreads really quickly, it not just only spreads quickly, it spreads anonymously, right? So you don't even know who has it. So let's just say you're on the TTC and, pretty much one person can infect thousands because you don't know who's infected or what's infected or whatnot, and they're not even testing. So when they start testing, you find that a lot of the locals are already infected, which is, what happened in Italy, which is fairly bad, right? So right now, the U.S. is just starting to test the airports, and we're just starting to test the airports as well. We haven't tested the citizens, and it will only go from bad to worse. It is not going to get any better, and I feel the real estate market, I agree that the Canadian dollar is going to go to shit. I don't disagree with that, but I think that before that happens, right, everybody outside of Canada is going to start pulling out money. And when they start pulling out money, the real estate market is going to pretty much fall, because I guarantee you, millennials like me and my friends, we cannot buy a real estate within, let's say, Toronto. And I'm not even saying Toronto because I have a sort of a better type of job, kind of, right? So, I pretty much, if it's not in Toronto, if it's somewhere else, I could pretty much buy anything, right? So, a lot of other people can't. And a lot of people can't even put up, let's say, $500,000 or even $300,000, all right? Let's just say that. Some of them are even less than $100,000. And they're millennials. We're talking about people that graduated and all that. My neighbor, I was talking to her, and she's like, yeah, she doesn't even have $10,000 to her name. And, pretty much this thing is going to go from bad to worse. It's not going to get any better. And it's certainly not going to push up the real estate market. If you think people are going to go out there and look at real estate during a pandemic, you're an idiot. And as much as I agree with everything else that they say about the Canadian dollar going to become monopoly money, the real estate is going to skyrocket before that happens, and I agree it will happen, I believe that they are going to pull out first, and then that will collapse the real estate market. And they're too busy fighting the coronavirus, and not only the coronavirus. They're fighting the financial, the banks, the stock market, and stuff like that. They're busy fighting those, and then they're not going to pay attention to the real estate market. And as they're fighting those, right, investors and people that buy the houses, I'm not talking about people that pretty much buy the houses to live in, right? And they paid a lot already. Those people that are millennials, they have $5,000 mortgages. My friends have $5,000 mortgages. So once investors from overseas start pulling out money, and then these people that have $5,000 mortgages see their investment underwater, they're going to go bankrupt, and they're going to start pulling out too. So anyways, it is not going to get any better, at least I don't think personally, in my opinion. I could be completely wrong. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, but I think I laid out pretty much what I feel will happen. Obviously, there are probably more things. I'm not a real estate agent, I'm saying that, and I have no reason to promote the real estate market or talk bad about it or whatnot, but I just know that from common sense, in a market like this one, and I'm not going to, I just saw this chart. If you look back at all the recession throughout history, right, and we're talking about the stock market here. If you look at all the stock market crashes, most of them crashed for over 50 weeks, right, and it crashed for months, and then they reached their low, and, pretty much, we already crashed a lot within 4 weeks. It is horrible out there. We could be crashing for the next 6 months, or we could be crashing for the entire year. Literally, we could be crashing until next year. So that will bring down the real estate market as much as, the Canadian dollar is going to go down. It's going to become monopoly money. It's true. I believe that. But the problem is, I feel like the investors are just they're not going to flock into real estate. And, they're more likely going to say, I'm pulling out, especially when now we have a real epidemic in Canada, right? It's a pandemic worldwide, but I think that we will not be able to contain it. That's what I believe. I could be completely wrong. I do not think looking at China, if you actually read what they've done, right, versus Italy, Italy was very relaxed, just like Canada. And we had the former Italian prime minister or whatever, I can't remember the title of the president or whatever they call it in Italy. We just had the former guys Skype with one of the CBC News, right? And he basically said that, you know, we got to take this very seriously. And we're taking this very relaxed right now, right? Because if we are to minimize the effect, we'd have to screen everybody and then pretty much have our numbers go down, right? I mean, we have to have our numbers go up first and then go down. So that would be good. But right now we're not even doing that, which means we're only at the beginning phase, right? So when it starts hitting the nursing home, which may seem that it already started, I think there's at least, I don't know how many, I think I could be completely wrong with the numbers again. I think there were like at least 70 people that died or something. I think either that was in the US or it was in Vancouver. But, you know, one of them in the entire nursing home was infected, including the nurses. So, you know, once those things start happening, it's going to go from bad to worse for the real estate market. And if you're in there, I do not feel you're safe unless you have enough funds to pay off the entire thing, right? I mean, if you don't have to worry about the mortgage, great. I mean, if you just buy it as whatever, then great. I mean, but if you're buying it as an investment and you have like $5,000 mortgages, and we're not even talking about how you might lose your job, and then how are you going to make the mortgage payment too, right? Because sometimes those people with $5,000 mortgages, they only make like $3,000, and then their wife makes $3,000. So, you know, now you combine to $6,000. What if suddenly your wife gets fired, right? And then you get fired. So it is a very, very bad time to even look at the real estate market right now. People are like trying to like goose up the market, mostly the realtors, because they want the money, right? But this thing is just going to go from bad to worse. It might go on for months, probably even until next year. It's not going to solve itself anytime soon, because as far as I can see, unless we take the measures that China has taken, which is pretty much to shut down the entire city and isolate everybody and figure out who is infected and who is not, and then get the infected to get well, we are not going to solve this by quarantine or like self-isolation ourselves at home. Right? I mean, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think everybody's going to self-isolate themselves. And even if they do, they don't know who is infected. Even if you're in Toronto, just go stand in the TTC a week from now. You'll see there's hell a lot of people still going using the TTC. It is essential, right? So unless they disinfect everything, I think this is just going to go from bad to worse until the virus forces pretty much the cities to do what they did in China. That's what I think, because that's what Italy did. I mean, I went down to Toronto. The only type of people that were wearing masks were Asians. Literally, most of them were Asians. Most of them weren't even wearing masks. Most of them were like, masks don't do anything. Yeah, well, you know, I don't want to talk too much about it, but a door goes in, like a door, right? Basically, this is what they tell me, and it's very hilarious when they tell me, because a mask don't protect you. But what happens is, if you're infected, it protects the other person from getting infected. And I'm thinking my brain, a door opens and closes, right? You can go in from a door and you can go out from a door, right? I mean, what the hell does that mean? If you have everybody wearing masks, right? So what happens is, if you're saying that a mask protects other people from getting infected, if you're already infected, that means if everybody's getting masks, then you won't infect other people, right? Even if you're not infected, you won't get infected. So anyways, they're literally like, what they're saying makes no sense to me. And I think the reason why it is like that right now, and the reason why the numbers will continue to go up, is because they have very illogical explanation on what to do. I mean, Italy right now, people are wearing masks. Why? Because they've gone, you know, to past the point of no return. And I think that's what's going to happen. And the virus is going to force everybody's hand. Even if people that are saying, wearing masks don't do anything. The virus is going to force everybody to wear masks. And then the virus is going to force everybody to pretty much, not go out for real estate to look at houses, and then they're going to force the realtors to pretty much, I don't know, it's very much like nobody's going to want to, they probably don't want to go out and look at it because they might be infected, right? So that might happen. And then, you know, I think that it's going to force investors from overseas to pretty much say, no, forget this. I mean, as the virus spreads, right, investors don't want to be holding a poison in their hand and saying, you know, this is poison, right? Because the virus is poison, basically. So it's going to be a double whammy for investors overseas that put millions of dollars into the real estate market. First, you're holding a poison. You might be holding a legal issue because what if somebody, you know, gets infected because of your house that you're renting out or your room that you're renting out that is filled with possibly students too? You know, then they get infected and then they sue you because you're the landlord that didn't keep the thing sanitized or whatnot, right? So now you're going to get lawsuits. So, and add on that, right? If everybody's prediction is correct, it is also my prediction. The Canadian dollar is going to go to confetti and, you know, and pretty much go down because they're going to print a lot to try to fight off the virus. Then if you're an investor overseas, you're seeing all these things piling up in front of you. You're like thinking, why the hell would I want to keep this? You'll probably just say, oh, let's just sell it. That's what is going to happen. And then the real estate market is going to collapse. And, you know, as it's collapsing, what's going to compound the issue is you have millennials like me that are like, what the hell? My real estate just went down. You know, and everybody is selling. I'm worried. And then, you know, especially my friends that are renting out the place. It's like, what? So, especially, you know, when there is a first lawsuit for the landlords, you know, not sanitizing the place or whatnot and keeping COVID-19 contained or whatnot, you know, then in those people that are actually renting out their houses, rooms, or condos is going to pretty much sell. Because you don't want the liability of somebody being infected with COVID-19 and then they come sue you. Especially with those Airbnb things, those houses, who knows who goes in and out and what happens to it? I mean, what if somebody rents it and then they get COVID-19? You know, and then let's say their grandpa goes in and then they die, right? And then now they're suing you for killing their grandpa. So, anyways, I think the real estate market is going to go from to bad to worse. And this is a horrible time to buy in. And anybody telling you to buy in, they're either real estate agents or whatnot. But anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I think I laid out my, you know, what I thought pretty well. I might have missed some stuff. You know, let me know what you think. Because obviously I'm always looking for, you know, new insight, new perspective to see how this is. But so far, I think as much as I'd like the real estate to go up, I find it very hard in this pandemic.